I am therefore extremely delighted to join hands today and to open this event in which our Gariwo partners will present their very innovative approach and the tools to combat hatred and support the memory of individuals that stood their ground to do this, despite unsurmountable challenges and often at high personal sacrifice. Distinguished guests, hate speech is a phenomenon that leaves profound scars on individuals and societies. It's really traumatizing. Honoring those who stood up against evil is not an option, it is really an obligation. This is something we should all do to advance the common fight against hatred and violence, to uphold the values and principles of the UN Charter that unite us all, and now more than ever. The Gardens of the Righteous, about which we will hear in a few minutes, is an excellent reminder of the power of individuals towards fulfilling the commitment we made through the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the 77 years ago of never again. I have no doubt that the stories we will hear will inspire us all. They will also create more opportunities for collaboration. Let us be reminded that we're united in the journey of combating hatred, because only when we are united, we can win, at least this battle. Thank you very much. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you. I really want to thank you, the special advisor of Gamba, for these amazing words that are leading us to our meeting. My name is Joshua Evangelista, and I'm the head of communications of Gariwo Foundation. And I'm honored to guide you through this panel, which we proudly present as part of this International Day of Countering Hate Speech. When taking the words of the special advisor, it is I want to say it's very special for us to be here because at the United Nations to speak of remembrance, not as a backward-looking act, but as a force for change. This is what we call the memory of good. And this panel will explore the way the foundation, this model that was created by Gabriele Nissim more than 30 years ago, inspired the creation of more than 300 gardens of the righteous worldwide. It is a work of that is like a civil tool to counter hatred and build bridges between people, cultures, and generations. And this has inspired many people around the world. But to show how it works, I want to show you a very small video that our office prepared, and then we can go through our.
Let's see if we can make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you can do this. I know you can.
While we are preparing the video, I really want to thank all the people connected worldwide.
Yeah, that's it. Now I can see. Does it have volume also?
This is a tree, a living being that draws strength from its deep roots and grows upward, reaching for the light. Just like memory does, our roots. They ground us in the past, helping new life rise. From memory, we grow beauty, and from beauty, we build the future. At Gariwo Foundation, we plant gardens of the righteous of humanity, not monuments of grief, but living spaces of dialogue, places where memory becomes presence and presence becomes action. Each tree tells the story of a righteous, someone who chose to act when others stayed silent, someone who proved that even one life can change history. In 1945, the world said, never again. And yet it did happen again, in Rwanda, Srebrenica, and many other places. A new idea has therefore taken root, not only honouring the victims, but also those who resisted, those who saved, those who spoke out. In 2003, that vision became real, the first Garden of the Righteous worldwide in Milan. Since then, over 300 gardens have been set up in over 10 countries, reaching tens of thousands of students through education and ceremonies. Because hatred is like wind, it can rise anywhere. But wind also carries seeds. That is why we work in schools, with communities, with youngsters, to plant seeds of conscience and responsibility. In 2012, 6th March became the European Day of the Righteous. In 2024, the UN officially recognized our mission. Planting a tree may seem simple, but it is one of the most powerful ways to stand against hatred. And we believe we need more gardens, more stories, more people having the courage to act. One tree, one story, one conscience at a time.
Thank you. So we have to thank the artist that did this video. His name is Lorenzo Sciapponi. So we want to use this opportunity also to thank him for his job. And we want to begin with the visionary behind this initiative. Gabriele Nissim, the founder of Gariwo Foundation, will take us through the philosophical roots of the gardens, as we already saw somehow in this video. That from Raphael Lemkin's insight of genocide prevention to the idea of the righteous humanity as a moral guidance for our shared future. So this was a very, 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 very long trip from Raphael Lemkin to this idea. And please, Gabriele, you have to show us how it came.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, all representatives of all the states of United Nations that follow us today. And especially I want to thank Virginia Gamba, the special advisor for the prevention of genocide. She's a wonderful woman and she will give hope for the future of humanity. To understand the mission of Gariwo Foundation, one should start with the great insight of a Polish Jewish jurist, Raphael Lemkin, who wanted the world to unite in 1948 around the United Convention on the Prevention of Genocide, of which he was the tireless architect after the ruin of the Second World War. You have to know that the destruction of a people, of a group, weakens the whole humanity, because the world is a great relationship based on cooperation between people. When the world misses a piece, as Raphael Lemkin argued, part of this wealth it is lost. If it is as an orchestra misses the music of one of its instruments, the sound will no longer be the same in each musician as every human being who lost a part of their soul. You can imagine the Philharmonic of Scala without violins. This is the destruction of a genocide that took all the humanity. And who then is the bulwark of this bond relation between human beings and stand up as the defender of the wealth of the entire human plurality? Are people who take care. And who are people who take care? Are those we call the righteous, who came to the aid of their neighbors, oppose hatred toward other human beings, and work for the reconciliation of people after war and extermination. Are the individuals who fight evil with good and heal the wound of humanity. That is why we remember the famous sentence that everybody knows. Whoever saved a life, not only save one person, but the whole world. Without the presence and determination of the righteous, who hear the call of their conscience, the great dream of the United Convention might be not possible. Indeed, the moral strength of the new commandment calling on the world to never commit genocide again does not depend solely on the state. It does on the responsibility of individuals who have the courage to act. The legal and diplomatic mechanism of the prevention policy sought by Raphael Lemkin is based on the responsibility and will of moral individuals who will define as righteous because they save the world of humanity through their action. Saving means preventing evil and giving strength and life to United Convention. With this philosophy in mind, Gariwo Foundation has built over 300 gardens of the righteous around the world to raise awareness and give visibility to those who want to save the lives of others, to foster justice and tolerance, but also the sustainability of our planet that is threatened by climate change. You know that all religions remember the golden rule that prescribe not to do to others harm that one will never want to suffer, as Morocco recalled in the founding document of the International Day for Counter Hate speech. This is the great moral force that explains the behavior of the righteous. The ethic of compassionate, responsible, and just individual to other human beings belong to all philosophical and religious culture. This is a universal philosophy, and we can find in all religions, in all ethic, that the responsibility always to save. I have been lucky enough to be a friend and biographer of Moshe Besky, the great creator of the Garden of the Righteous in Jerusalem, in which there are over 20,000 trees and names to commemorate those who saved the lives of Jews during the Shoah, the most terrible genocide of the 20th century. This is why I thought that the idea of the Garden of the Righteous should become universal, to remember every person on this earth who saved the life of the others. So I want to call them the righteous of humanity, because they feel it is their duty to risk their life to help any group of people in danger, regardless of their nationality, religion, or ethnicity. They, the righteous, are the guardian of all human beings. As Raphael Lemkin recalled, these people act to prevent wars and genocide before heavy floods the world with its ruins. When we sadly remember extermination and victims, as it happened with the genocide of the Jews and the Armenians, it is always too late. It is always the memory of a defeat of humanity. This is why remembrance only a profound meaning when we educate people to become just and to prevent all crime against humanity before. So we must act before the evil and not after. This is the real problem. Today, we are presenting our work in New York because we are convinced that in the today divided and torn world, with wars from Gaza, Iran, Israel, Sudan, Ukraine, and also remember what happened with Armenia and Karabakh. I think it is important to remember the original spirit of the United Nations, set up to preserve peace and human diversity. Unfortunately, the state of the world today reminds us of the desolation atmosphere surrounding the Second World War. Perhaps never we have needed so many righteous to act to rebuild through the example a new bond that unites all the nations of the planet. They have the difficult task of mending relations in a context of heavy confrontation. We, believe the universal garden of rights can become a great educational and pedagogical tool to save peace and hope for the future of humanity. As new elected Pope Leo XIV reminds us, urging us to build bridges and break down the walls of hatred, the world needs to be united again with peace, dialogue, and cooperation. We want a world of friend and not of enemy. And if you look at the world, we saw only enemies. But why we have to live in such a world? I would like to explain the great revolutionary power of this garden in a few words. They show society the beauty of good people who have realized that everyone, in their own small way, can do something to save the world and set it back on the right path. Through their action, good people teach us that the best way to combat hatred is to show that love and respect for more others make life more beautiful and happier. I say many times that if you are righteous people, you will be more happy. Happiness and be righteous, I think, is the key that explains how it's possible that the man is righteous. The garden of the righteous educates society not to forget and to express gratitude to those who do good. So the best example can be remembered by everyone. But perhaps the most important educational impact of this garden, which tells the story of righteous people, is to encourage people from all walks of life to rediscover their common humanity. This is why the garden has small grassroots unite nation where different people come together wishing to have a dialogue and commit for the good of human beings. This is why today we ask you to support the setting of garden in your county, and we hope that the Day of the Right of Humanity, voted by Italy, by European Parliament, also by San Marino, will become increasingly international, and our dream that one day this day can be also voted by the United Nations. An ancient philosopher, Emperor Mark Aurelius, a Stoic that I like very much, wrote that we should not seek an impossible utopia. We should be content with small things, because over time, small things can become great things, a possible hope for the whole world. This is the message that the story of the righteous convey to us every day, as they push humanity in the right direction, one step after the other step. This is why the righteous are the moral elite of human beings. And I think that in a time of war and confrontation, we need righteous, and righteous in every age, in every time, in every period. They have one characteristic: they save the human being, they save the humanity. So I use always this expression: the righteous are the real elite of humanity, and now we need the righteous in such a complex world that we are now. Thank you very much for hearing us.
Thank you very much, Gabriele, for reminding us that even a single righteous can somehow preserve the dignity of the whole humanity. And this is like the core of the message that we always want to share with all the people we speak with. I want to say to everyone that we have the text of the message delivered by Gabriele Nissim. We have several copies, so at the end of our meeting, we can share with you this message. Now let's take a closer look at how this vision took shape in years, starting from a dialogue. It started from a dialogue between the memories of two genocides, and from that it expanded through gardens, but also schools, public institutions, really as a forest. So I want to invite Martina Landi, which is the General Manager of the Gariwo Foundation, to tell us the story.
Thank you, Joshua, and thank you, Gamba, to invite us here. And as Joshua mentioned before, it all began with the encounter of two memories and two lives, the one of Gabriele Nissim and the one of Julian. Two lives marked by the great tragedies of 20th century, the Holocaust and the Armenian genocide. In the late 1990s, with Anna Maria Samuelli and with Anna Beradice, they decided to gather, disseminate, and bring to light the stories of the righteous, to educate people on personal responsibility, democracy, justice, and freedom, through the positive examples of those who choose not to turn a blind eye, even in the darkest moments of history. Today, Gariwo is a foundation based in Milan that operates in Italy, in Europe, and all around the world to disseminate the message of the righteous in schools, among citizens, with institutions, and first and foremost, with the guardians of the righteous. When we tell the stories of the righteous of humanity, we say that they are neither saints nor heroes, but they are ordinary people who, in front of injustice and persecution, managed to break the chain of hatred through acts of responsibility, denunciation, or rescue. The categories of righteous are not set in stone, they evolve as history does. The righteous are women and men who save lives, bear witness against oblivion, reject hatred, seek dialogue and reconciliation. Telling their stories means remembering that we can always use our conscience to stand against hatred, and that everyone, as Gabriele previously said, can be righteous even in small everyday events. Such work on the righteous started in a very special place that now we want to show you. This place is the Garden of the Righteous of Milan, inaugurated in 2003 on Monte Stella. There is a large green area built on the ruins of our city, formed during the Second World War. The choice of such area aims at reminding us that life can always be reborn, even from destruction. Today, more than 90 righteous are honored in this garden. We can find their righteous among the nations, alongside the names of the Madres de Plaza de Mayo, Nelson Mandela, Denis Mukwege, Khalida Gopal, the women and the men who saved lives in the Mediterranean Sea, the witnesses of the Gulag, those who defended freedom of expression, those who defend and protect our fragile planet, and those who spend their lives fighting for democracy. The 6th March was chosen as a day to honor these individuals. In 2012, upon the initiative of Gariwo, the European Parliament established the European Day of the Righteous and invited member states to transpose it in their own legal systems. In Italy, as Gabriele said before, the Day of the Righteous of Humanity became a civil holiday in 2017, and the Republic of San Marino established this official anniversary in 2023. Every year, therefore, 6 March becomes an opportunity to honor these people, the best individuals who at all times and in all places of the planet cared for human beings, taking their name out of the oblivion and making them a moral benchmark, especially for young people. And now you can see our work for schools and for young people.
I have had the great opportunity to be part of our Garden of the Righteous, created in 2020. This year, I led a project with the goal of spreading the message about righteous people in local high schools in Mostar. We celebrate diversity every single day here. We place great emphasis on what each of us can do to help one another grow and become great agent of positive change in the world.
This was a fantastic experience that made us realize how empowering it is for young people to learn about individuals who stood up for humanity. I hope that young people around the world will also join us in creating their garden of the righteous in their schools as well.
Having a garden of writers in every school, it's very important. It's a very powerful tool when it comes for future generations to have a story to get inspired from and to be the next generation of writers people in their society.
My name is Joseph.
You can see our young people, and we often define the Gariwo Foundation as an educational agency. This means that we try to foster good practices for the formation of individual conscience. We disseminate education on remembrance in schools, universities, and communities. And we draft dossiers, gather testimonies, and design pathways to build a culture of human rights and individual responsibility. We can do this through a network of educators who participate in our projects and act as spokespersons for our message. In schools, we offer projects such as the Adopt a Writers contest. We design and distribute educational games such as the Oppressed and Oppressor role-playing game. And we encourage encounter, knowledge, and community building through remembrance trip. And we foster, of course, the creations of the Gardens of the Righteous in schools. If the righteous are the individual who take a stand against evil, the Gardens of the Righteous are places of encounter, dialogue, and community reaction to what is happening in the world. Over the years, as Gabriele told before, several gardens have been set up, but I would like to mention two of these which have been pivotal for our foundation. The first one is the one that Ms. Gamba visited in February, the Garden of the Righteous in Warsaw, set up in 2014 in the area of the former Jewish ghetto. It is a grassroots initiative that became a foundation in 2023, managed by Gariwo in collaboration with Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation and its president, Joseph Lancer. The second one is the Garden of the Righteous at Farnesina, the Italian Ministry for Foreign Affairs, set up in 2024 to honor Italian diplomats who have defended human dignity in times of crisis. Together with our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, this project now is at disseminating the diplomacy of food through our national embassy. In this spirit, as Ms. Gamba remember before, we signed a memorandum with the UN Office on Genocide Prevention in 2024 to propose the model of the Garden of the Righteous as a tool to combat hatred and to prevent crimes against humanity. And now maybe we can see some framework for this work.
Answer. My parents, at the start of the World War II, fled from the Nazis to the Soviet Union. My mother hardly escaped from being raped, and my father from being executed by an assessment. We followed the endeavors of Gariwo and the European Parliament to establish a European Day for the Righteous to be commemorated early on 6 March. In 2014, the Warsaw Garden of Righteous was established. I'm proud to be the initiator and one of the 3 founders. The other 2 are the Gariwo and the Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation.
I conclude by saying that we strongly believe in all of this because we believe that remembrance of food is a tool for change, and because remembering the righteous is not only an act of remembrance, but we think is an act for the future. And now we strongly believe that we need acts for future, for hope, and for peace. So thank you.
Thank you, Martina. So we saw with your speech that from education to diplomacy, remembrance becomes action in the work of Gariwo. And to explore how this model turns into a grassroots movement, as already Martina said, a grassroots movement that spans continents, institutions, and generations. We will now hear from Benedetta Macripò, who leads the GariwoNetwork, how the network of all these gardens work together.
Thank you again. The GariwoNetwork is an international grassroots cultural movement driven by around 300 representatives who have chosen actually to embrace and put into practice the moral commandments of never again, locally, in a constant exchange and compromise between institutions, civil society, and also special sensibilities of individuals. The network mainly shares a common set of values, which are at the heart of the message of the righteous and right direction. These values are gratitude, empathy, solidarity, courage, and hope. Those who choose to join the movement and become representatives for this network turn into proactive persons every day of these values and foster a garden of the rights in their community, aimed at passing on, as we saw in the videos, on the baton and conveying the legacy of the rights to younger and future generations. Since Gariwo was founded, the cultural movement of GariwoNetwork had its primary aim to disseminate the message of the rights by setting up physical, dedicated, symbolic spaces for intergenerational and cosmopolitical dialogue. The gardens of the rights are usually public spaces selected to be dedicated to the remembrance of the rights of humanity through commemorative events and ceremonies as well. However, from a broader perspective, the potential, we believe, and prospects that open up when a garden of the rights is set up are much more emblematic and socially significant. According to us, the gardens are permanent agoras, as Gabriele always says, of substantial democracy. They aspire to go beyond the mere exercise of teaching ritual memory. According to us, teaching about the past is proactive, especially because it's not ritual, and especially because the telling of these courageous stories is a paradigm for interpreting the present, and also serves as an educational tool for proactive citizenship. This movement actually is a grassroots inspiration that can have an impact and contribute to building an alternative public discourse to violent and hateful speech. And instead of this discourse insists on remembrance of possible good, starting from positive examples. Since 2017, the GariwoNetwork has been gathering at an annual event in Milan, from which it takes its name, and we are very thankful to Simona, who last year was with us at this annual event. And at this annual event, representatives involved can meet, exchange best practice, cooperate, and hopefully also create synergies and projects on the field, especially in Italy, because actually in Italy we have the most numerous gardens of the rights, but hopefully also this event is the occasion to opening up opportunities for international projects. The inspiration behind the entire movement, which is called upon to reflect as a community at least once a year under the cultural guidance of Gariwo Foundation on particular urgent current issues, is rooted in Václav Havel's Charter 77, in that it is a pluralistic, heterogeneous movement consisting, as our colleague Joshua said before, of teachers, educators, municipal representatives, representatives of civil society, and private sector. Because of its composition, it is a movement that we strongly underline that contains welcomes, support, tension to conflict as a driver of dialogue, in that shared values and a common goal at its core. But slowly going to the end of this presentation, there is one question that we want to address. How can a garden of the rights can be experienced and interpreted? From our experience of these 20 past years, we have identified some best practices that are useful for understanding the social role of a garden of the rights within the communities where it's created and it grows. I would like to highlight actually three types, and three of them as particular existing examples. One of them we saw in the video because it's gardens in international schools. And for us, these gardens are meeting point of different memories, sensibilities, but also they have a big educational potential in fostering active participation of students, committees in managing the garden project, from taking care of the space, common space, to choosing the themes, the rights to be honored. Currently, the international schools involved in the network include, as we saw, the UWC in Duino, the United World College of the Adriatic, and also Rondine, Cittadella della Pace School in Tuscany. From their experience, to which we hope other international schools around the world will soon be added, we have learned that when international students with different linguistic, religious, academic engage in taking care of a common space, actually they're driven each year through the selection of the rights, through reimagining the meaning that place can embody and the message it conveys. This dynamic, we believe, that can improve group relationships, increase empathy towards others, and create a common space and language for dialogue. Then the second example is a garden as a regeneration and reappropriation of a public space. The example is the island of Lampedusa and the garden there. Lampedusa, for us in Italy, but in Europe, and not only in Europe, around the world, is a very symbolic place, because Europe, it's at Europe's doorstep, and also tragically known for the migrant tragedies in the Mediterranean seas over the past 10 years and more. And the decision by the municipality to redevelop the area of the town specifically to dedicate it to the stories of the writers, also including some and commemorating local Lampedusan fishermen who saved migrants and refugees at the sea, has united the whole community in a shared sense of solidarity and empathy towards the other. And last example, the garden as a tool to exercise civic responsibility. In the Garden of the Rights in Tirana, Miss Simona Cruciani visited that garden. This garden, created within the Catholic University Our Lady of Good Counsel, actually is a big example of active memory, responsibility of choice, and also exercise of critical thinking as concrete practice through democratic elections, because they choose every year through these elections the rights that they want to be honored and be put in their garden of the rights, which is also co-managed by students and university administrations. At the heart of this experience, despite their differences, the common factor is the perspective that gardens meant social structures. They are living symbols that, especially in times of conflict, as Martina and Gabriele said before, remind us that choice is possible and that individuals can influence and change the course of history, especially when supported by a community that shares the goal and the mission of preserving humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Benedetta, I think that what you described so well is not just a network, as you said, but it's like a global civic infrastructure rooted by the ethics of empathy, responsibility, and hope. And to show practically how this network works, we have the very good moment now, because we can share our panel with two experiences, very different, but so important in this specific moment. So I want to introduce our first example from outside, an amazing garden that is in the Middle East. It's the garden of Neve Shalom Wahat al-Salam. We have, I hope, that we have here with us Nir Sharon and Samar Salameh, who are the leaders of the garden. I don't know if they can unmute their microphone and show themselves.
Hello.
Hello, Nir.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, just 1 second. We are trying to find you among the participants. While we create the connection, just 2 words. Wahat al-Salam Neve Shalom is a village of Palestinian and Jewish citizens of Israel who choose to share their lives with one another. And the garden inside this beautiful village is a living example how to cooperate together, even in war.
Joshua, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
I can see you as well.
Good morning, Nir.
Good morning. So
Yes, you can. Yes, please.
I will start. First of all, it's a great honor to be here I want to take the time to thank to the Gariwo Foundation and Gabriele Nissim and all of the staff that we've met in Milano, and obviously the UN, the special advisor, for having us here and being able to talk about our village and about what we are doing. It's a very, as you all know, it's a very difficult time here for the past almost 20 months. So we're trying to do our best even in this unique times and the devastating image that we see from all over our region. So as Joshua said, we are Samach, my Palestinian colleague, and myself. We are from the village called Neve Shalom Wacht Salam, which translates to Oasis of Peace. We are the only intentional community in Israel where Palestinian and Jewish families choose to live together in equally and mutual recognition. We live a vision of a shared society rooted in dialogue, respect, and the belief that peace begins in daily life. Our mission is resisting hate through human connection. We believe that building peace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In times of fear and division, we choose cooperation over separation and trust over hate. We do it through our education institution, which go from the nursery until to School for Peace, which is for adult person. The Garden of the Rescuers with Gariwo in our cooperation is one of our most meaningful projects, is the garden. Creating in partnership with the International Foundation Gariwo, the Garden of the Righteous worldwide. Thanks to Gariwo, our garden became part of a global network honoring those who risked their lives to save others during conflict, genocide, and oppression. These stories of Jews and Arabs, women and men, remind us that moral courage exists in every society and must be remembered and celebrated. I will pass the microphone to my colleague Samach, who will continue. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Samah Salaime. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. So thank you for the invitation. I'm joining you now from Paris. I was supposed to fly back home, and I'm here because of the new war, the dangerous war that my region facing. And ironically, I came here to present Wahed al-Salam Neve Shalom in the peace summit that was supposed to prepare to the UN discussion next week about the recognition of the state of Palestine. And we met President Macron and 130 peace organization and shared society organization were representatives in this conference. And what we do in Wahed al-Salam Neve Shalom is basically educating for peace using stories like the stories of rescuers and righteous and that we honored in our village. I am Palestinian citizen of Israel. I am a feminist Palestinian and mother of 3 boys that I don't want to see them suffering from the wars, and they deserve better future than the present that I live with near right now, and they definitely deserve with Alex, Near's daughter. She's newborn and he's expecting his new child, and we do everything to prepare the world for this wonderful human being that deserve to live in peace and security without the fear of war, starvation, and abuse. And Wahed al-Salam survived the war in Gaza, and we don't know what's happening in this war. I left my 3 boys alone at home, and going back and for the shelter under the sirens and the missiles and rockets that we witness as you follow the news. So what we are trying to do with the middle of this mess is to to find a glimpse of hope, to find the light in the end of the tunnel that our leaders actually pushed us, Arab and Jewish, Palestinian, Israelis, to that dark tunnel. We are trying to provide stories in that people all around the world, including Palestinian Israelis, do the good thing, the right thing in the right time, in the time of crisis, that we all share values, starting with the humanity and human right and human dignity. So there are the stories that we planned in our garden that prove that humanity can survive even if in the moment of collapse. We have more than 40 stories that we collect from all over the world. And a few years ago, we decided to hear the stories of Palestinians who saved Jewish lives and Jewish families who individuals and organizations who save Palestinian lives. And we find a lot of stories that the media and the history books don't want to focus because it's ruined the narrative of hatred, and that we have to be separated, have to be divided, and have to be segregated from each other. And our stories in the garden in Neve Shalom Waht Salam prove quite the opposite. This is the stories that we use and we want to document in English, Hebrew, and Arabic. We want everybody to listen, and our kids who were educated in our bilingual binational school, when Arab and Jewish kids learn what other human beings did during the war, it's encourage them to do the right thing and to refuse at least to violent and start using dialogue and nonviolent action to keep themselves safe and to build bridges without bombing the bridges between people. So we want to pass to the world as a Palestinian, as a Jewish, as partners, basically, that peace is possible, and we need to be vocal. We need to do what we do, and we are trying at least to honor the people who and give them the voice with the placard and the stories to be documented and to be in the books of the history, that this tiny place in the middle of the Middle East called Waht al-Salam Neve Shalom collect the stories, and there will be definitely some time that these stories will be heard, will be taught in school, because tolerance is much powerful than the hate speech. And this is the healing process that's supposed to start after this awful catastrophe and this vicious war that we are witnessing with the Iran unnecessary attack. And this is dangerous adventure that the leaders of the world drag us on, and we are the civilians, parents and women, men, and civilians who are against this war. We will pay the highest price. Hopefully, Waht al-Salam Neve Shalom story and the stories that we collect in the Rescuers Garden will be told sometime, and they will be out there, and we will have hopefully the chance to spread the spirit of the rescuers, not only for our kids that see and learn the stories in our special curriculum, and not only for the few people or maybe thousands of people who visit Waht al-Salam Neve Shalom. We believe that our region deserves to learn and to implement and to dream about other future and to change the narrative, to change the stories, that people in our region can live together and can live peacefully together. And when we talk about, I heard the introduction by the honorable committee leader, and she talked about no, never again. And I think our slogan in Waht al-Salam, never again for anyone. So we all deserve peace, and we, in our shared small village, we are trying to promote this agenda, at least in our small community with the limited resources that we have. Thank you all for the invitation, and I hope to see you all and to host you all one day when we celebrate the peace in our region, and the next summit of your committee will be in Israel, Palestine, and Wahed al-Salam, Neve Shalom. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Sama. It's our dream to celebrate the next day of the righteous all together in the garden of Neve Shalom. We really want it. And well, Sama said something very, very important, that the garden of the righteous looking for stories that usually media are not interested in. And this is something very, very important, a very a crucial part of our job, because we have an encyclopedia of the righteous where we collect all the stories that are sent to us by all the gardens, all the people that are working in the gardens, or by scholars and so on. And to share these stories is really at the core of what we do. And doing that, we found the story that then created the garden. Because the next person that will speak is Gabriele Nissim. She has an incredible story, and we were very touched by her story. She is righteous for us for what she did in Rwanda, and she was honored in the Garden of the Righteous in Milan. And this is very beautiful story, because it's the story of a righteous that wanted to share with others the message of the righteous. So she was the one who, with us, created the Garden of the Righteous in Rwanda, Kamoni. So, which is a very nice story, and I want really to thank Gabriele Nissim to be with us, and I want to ask her to share with us the story of the garden in Rwanda. And I want to say to all of you that after her message, you can take the text of the message here. We have also some copies of it. So welcome, Gabriele.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My speak is in French. Je suis Mkasarasi Godelive, fondatrice de l'organisation Vota, qui a pour mission de promouvoir la paix, l'unité et les droits de l'homme, en particulier ceux des femmes et des enfants qui ont été touchés par les effets du génocide de Rwanda. Nos valeurs sont la compassion, la solidarité et la dignité de la personne humaine. Le jardin de justice de l'humanité de Kamoni au Rwanda a été inauguré le 27 juillet en l'an 2024 par la conseillère spéciale des Nations Unies pour la prévention du génocide auprès du secrétaire général des Nations Unies. C'est un espace commémoratif dédié aux femmes et aux hommes qui partout dans le monde ont été les victimes des génocides, de persécutions et des régimes totalitaires. Inspiré de Gariwo, chaque geste est commémoré par une plaque mémoriale et la plantation d'un arbre. C'est une des actions de l'organisation Sevota dans un espace de 20 hectares à travers l'Institut de la paix, qui a pour la mission de contribuer à la promotion des activités liées à la paix, l'unité et la réconciliation, la santé, la mémoire, remise pour femmes survivantes de violences sexuelles pendant le génocide commis contre les Tutsis au Rwanda en 1994 et celles ayant été témoins au tribunal pénal international pour le Rwanda, ainsi que la promotion des droits de la personne humaine, l'art et le tourisme. Les femmes témoins au tribunal international pour le Rwanda ont eu erreur pour montrer que le viol est un crime contre l'humanité et une arme utilisée pendant le génocide commis contre les Tutsis. Pour ce fait, leur rôle dans le jardin de justice et de l'humanité est irremplaçable. Leur courage est traduit à travers le film documentaire To Incandescent, réalisé en 2015 par Michel Michaud. Ces femmes sont Victoire, Soraphine Cécile et moi-même. avoir participé à ce launch aux offices des Nations Unies à New York. Ce vote continue la mobilisation à la résolution 1325 de 2000 des Nations Unies, adoptée par le Conseil de sécurité en tenant compte au point 8b d'adopter des mesures pour soutenir des initiatives de paix prises par des groupes de femmes locaux. Une de nos actions affirmatives, positives et de succès. C'est aussi un espace efficace pour l'éducation des communautés, en particulier celle des jeunes sur l'histoire du génocide, notamment à ce qui concerne les conséquences sur les femmes, les filles et les enfants, mais aussi le rôle des femmes rwandaises dans la justice internationale et leur rôle dans la consolidation de la paix et de la résilience. Les jeunes, dont les vulnérables, vont s'initier aux valeurs du bien, base d'être juste, dialoguer, jouer, chanter, danser, faire du théâtre, des poèmes et apprentissage des langues, etc. Ces ressources éducatives leur permettront d'acquérir des stratégies de plus jamais de génocide, d'éviter le mal et la mentalité génocidaire, de faire le bien qui construit et contribuer à la bonne semence de la paix, sécurité et développement. Aussi, marquer leur activisme dans la prévention du génocide et soutien aux personnes vivant avec les conséquences du génocide, dont le VIH-Sida et le trauma transgénérationnel. Les services de soutien psychologique sont assurés pour les femmes et des groupes d'entraide et de solidarité, les maris et les enfants membres des clubs de paix et de développement, dont ceux qui fondent leur propre foyer, en collaboration avec des experts en santé mentale liés au génocide et à la mémoire, tout en ayant la visée de la méditation, la médiation, la prévention, la résolution et la gestion des conflits, pour la cohabitation pacifique, la guérison des blessures pour une vie meilleure dans des familles sécurisées et compétentes, mais aussi aux membres des communautés qui avoisinent le jardin de Juste et d'Okamoni et qui assurent l'entretien, la maintenance et la garde. Merci aux autorités du Rwanda qui soutiennent ces votants. Merci à Ben Rwanda avec qui nous collaborons et honneur à Gariwo qui nous accorde le soutien financier et assistance technique pour l'existence de ce jardin de justice et de l'humanité au Rwanda et rendre hommage à ces personnes du courage exceptionnel. Que vivent les Nations Unies. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. So I know that, maybe we can have a synthesis of your message in English. Telling me that there is a colleague of you that want to share just a short synthesis of the message, also in English, maybe for the audience that are outside the United Nations. Yes.
Yes, our greetings from Rwanda. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, so basically in a few words, what she says is that the Garden of the Righteous of Humanity in Kamonyi, Rwanda was inaugurated in July, on the 27th of July, 2024 by the United Nations Special Advisor for the Prevention of Genocide to the Secretary General of the United Nations. It is a memorial space dedicated for women and men who around the world have helped the victims of genocide, persecution, and totalitarian regimes. It was inspired by Gariwo. Each righteous is commemorated by a plaque and the planting of a tree of protection and peace. It is one of the actions of Sevota in a space of 20 hectares through the Institute of Peace, whose mission is to contribute to the promotion of activities related to peace, unity, and reconciliation, health, memory, museum for women survivors of sexual violence during the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda in 1994, and those who testified at the International Crime Tribunal for Rwanda, as well as the promotion of human rights, art, and tourism. Those women who witnessed have played a very important role in the international justice to prove that rape is a crime against humanity and weapon of genocide. For this reason, their role in the garden of the righteous of humanity is irreplaceable. Sevota continues to mobilize on Resolution 1325 of 2000 of the United Nations, adopted by the Security Council, taking into account point 8b, to adopt measures to support peace, initiatives taken by local women's group, and one of our affirmative, positive, and successful actions. It is also an effective space for the community's education, especially for young people, on the history of the genocide, particularly regarding the consequences for women, girls, and children, but also the role of Rwandan women in international justice and their roles in peace building and resilience. Young people will be thoroughly introduced to values based on being right, on dialogues, using plays, singing, dancing, theater, poems, language acquisition, and other approaches. These educational lessons will help them to acquire strategies that will help them to be a part of the never again genocide and to avoid evil and a genocidal ideology, to do well, which builds and contribute to the good seed of peace, security, and development, and also mark their activism in the prevention of genocide and support for people, include those who were affected by the genocide, including those who were who became HIV positive during the genocide, and those who are victims of transgenerational trauma. Providing psychological support services to women from support and solidarity groups and their husbands, young people and children who are members of peace and development clubs, especially those who are establishing their own households in collaboration with mental health experts related to genocide and memory, while aiming mediation, prevention, resolution, and management of conflict and violence for peaceful cohabitation, healing wounds, for a better life in securing and competent families, but also for members, communities that neighbor the garden of the righteous and who do its maintenance, daily upkeep, and guarding. We are thankful to the Rwandan authorities who support us, to Bene Rwanda who collaborate with us, and we honor Gariwo Foundation for their provision of daily support, financial support, and technical support. And we are also thankful to the United Nations, and thank you for all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we now have, thank you very much. So we now have a Q&A moment. So we will collect some comments and questions from you. And then at the end, we'll ask the special advisor to give us remarks. So please, if you have any questions, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to make a brief comment regarding the phrase used by the chairman of Gariwo that what happened to Armenians in Karabakh. It should be noted that this phrase, in our understanding, concerns the counter-terror measures of Azerbaijan conducted in September 2023. We need to emphasize that, first of all, the Karabakh region is an integral part of Azerbaijan and part of its sovereign territory and should be referred in that form. Counter-terror measures of Azerbaijan were exclusively directed at the members of the illegal armed formations. The measures were conducted in line with the principles of distinction and proportionality, and the international organizations such as UNHCR and the UN Country Office confirmed that there was no mistreatment of civilians and destruction of public infrastructure. We can also mention the Prime Minister of Armenia, who said during that time in September 2023 that, quote, rumors about mass casualties among the civilian population are used, unquote. And again, quote, there is no direct threat to the civilian population, unquote. It's important to put aside the racial approach to the protection of human rights. The phrase what happened in the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan should concern Azerbaijanis who became victims of mass atrocities by the armed forces of Armenia. The organizers should have had information on the Fojala genocide that took place in 1993, 1992. The organizers also, the strong bias against Azerbaijan and its people should be silent. And their suffering needs also to be raised, especially by this organization of Gariwo. We also object the situation that the presence of special advisor is also misused, and such an implied attack based on false narratives was directed against Azerbaijan. I have also on me the facts that
Can you give me the text so that I can keep it? Can you give it to me?
Yes, of course.
Please, if you don't
I
mind,
can
because
give
we
it
have
to you
little
and
time. I would be very happy to have it. And
I
you
can
know,
also send it to the organizers. You can also check
I
the
think if you
information.
can send me everything, it will be very good. I have many talks with Azerbaijan, and I very much respect your position. So thank you very much for this. Can we continue, please?
Yes, thank you. Are there any questions? Yes, please.
I'm the ambassador from Dora. Thank you very much for convening this meeting. I think it's very interesting what I heard here so far. But I was wondering if you've been in touch also with others, because unilateral action sometimes is difficult to go through, but if you put things together. You know, the Council of Europe for many years already has been working on the program which is very successful, Education for Democratic Citizenship, which actually promotes values the same as you do. I think you're more complementary to that, not even changing the curriculum. We have done it already. Like they discuss in the room values of compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, acceptance, or non-discrimination issues. Because I think there's a lot of work you could do complementary in this regard. But I congratulate you for the excellent job. I know it's very complicated to just be heard, and I hope that more people will listen about you and your actions. But I think you should try to find others that would help you in that difficult road to make conscious all of us to be right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Are there any other? Yes, please.
I would also like to thank our Ambassador Romania, Mr. Nissim, for this contribution. This is exactly the project Ms. Gamba is saying. Against sensitive issues, be positive. And my question is to Madam Special Advisor, how do you think UN could support, engage more with this concept and with this project in future, both member states, perhaps to support it?
Excellent.
Other contributors, questions?
Yes, very briefly. I'm Spencer, the member of the expert definition of Bulgaria. I would like to thank Madam Gamba and Mr. Nissim for the very interesting and inspiring presentation, and all the other panelists as well. I think in terms of the idea and the overall concept, it was very clear, so I don't have much to ask on that. But I would be curious if you could say a few more words about the way that this first Garden of the Righteous in Milano was organized. Was that done mostly through cooperation between Gariwo and the local city, or did other institutions and NGOs participate in terms of both deciding on the righteous group we mentioned there, also on the creation of the park as a park? Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, please? Okay.
We start with that answer.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
But I start from the discussion Armenia-Karabakh. What we want, we don't do politics. We try to put together people and to work against hate speech, because as you heard from Israel and Palestinian and from the one that where now there are not more Tutsi and the Hutu now. In Rwanda they speak they are Rwanda, not more Tutsi and Hutu. But this example gives us the way to understand the garden work for reconciliation. No? And I think this is very important, because you only have to avoid genocide, but after genocide, the crime and humanity, you have to reconstruct the society. And this is a very difficult task. And the example we heard before from Rwanda was an example that we have to think for also other countries. And the second point is that we work on democracy. You speak before at the time of democracy. We think the Garden of the Rights are a place where we learn dialogue to the peoples, because as we heard in the conference also yesterday, the hate we see in politics come before in the society, before in the family. And so we want to teach the way of dialogue, to appreciate the dialogue. And this is the essence of democracy, to have dialogue and not to think to have the truth, that everybody has the truth. No, with the dialogue we find a new truth. And this is the sense of democracy. And after about the history of Milano, the great revolution we made in Milano was that we created the Garden of the Right for Humanity. No? And the experience started with Armenia, with the Jewish community, with the mayor of Milano, and the garden started with this feeling that the rights are universal. This is very important. The rights are not local, no, but are universal. And this was the success of the experience we have in this in Milano. And the Garden of the Right became a very important institution in the society. And every year there are thousands and thousands of people came in the garden. The mayor of Milano inaugurated always the new tree for the rights, and thousands of students participate in Milano in this event.
If I can also add something, maybe Martina can. I think it's very important and even interesting for the countries involved here to know how practically exactly, and the researchers, and also how to work with institutions. I think this can help.
This is what we're trying to do, not only with countries, but also with cities, because in Milan, we have this experience together with the majority of Milan and the mayor of Milan, that is the president for the Association for the Gardens of the Righteous in Milan. We work together with him and to the Italian Union of Jewish Communities. And every year, civil society, academics, journalists, and so on suggest us some stories that we can honor in the garden. And then a committee formed by these three realities, Gariwo, the majority of Milan, and the Union of Jewish Communities, validates them by studying them and trying to look for some documents about these stories from the past and from the present. And this model of Milan can be a very important model for all our network. This is what we're trying with Benedetta. We're trying to do with all the gardens of our network to have some shared space together with the municipalities. This is because having a shared areas where the communities can be represented, that can be a point of aggregation for not only for schools but also for citizens and for something else. And this can be very important to have a grassroots initiative, but also for taking care of these areas. Because if you know a place, if you want this place can be better and can be beautiful and can be shared with the young people and with the communities. These stories, we always say that these stories of the righteous that we honored in this garden can be seen from the students like friends. And the stories of these righteous can be shared in their families, like young people share the stories of their friends. And this can be the force of the righteous, and this can be the revolutionary power of the righteous, because we can talk about good even while we're talking about bad and evil periods of history and of presence, unfortunately. And I think that this can be the power of the writers, even here in the United Nations, because we can really talk about good people and good practices to change the world, even in our everyday life. Because as I told before, writers are neither saints nor heroes, and we strongly believe in that, because we can change the world every day in our work, in our families, with our friends, and with our people that we met every day. So this is what we're trying to do.
Exactly. And also just 2 words replying your interesting suggestion. Actually, we are working with several institutions to do that. In this specific stage of our mission, we are really working with other institutions in order to create a community of good, I would say, with the same aim. So all the suggestions are very, very welcome, and we can, of course, share ideas. Thank you very much. So I want to
thank you so much, and I will use the opportunity as well to close, but I will answer some of your questions, and I need to see you, Ambassador, next week, so I'll have to ask for bilateral anyway. I have the good fortune to having been to Andorra. I consider it possibly a model country. I was very much struck by the educational system, the democratic processes. I mean, children are consulted in Andorra. If there is a child space to be built, like a park, it is children that are consulted in the council. They have a role, a real voice in how they manage their own space. And I think what Andorra has done, as well of assisting migrant children and refugee children, including from Ukraine, is something that I've been trying to tell others, that this is a really good model to follow. So I need to see you afterwards to see what more we can do on that line. As you know, I have 2 hats. I am both the acting special advisor on regional genocide, but I also am the special representative on children and armed conflict. And you will hear from me, because I am presenting the annual report of children and conflict on Friday, and I will have a press briefing then. I will have a group of friends meeting then. And it will be in the webinar if people want to hear it from 10:30 to 11:30. And I can assure you one thing, I am going to make mention of this in that press briefing. To say, what can the United Nations do? We've got to stop the silence. It's all part of the same issue. For me, there's not a difficulty handling 2 different jobs, but it's really one job. It's only one job, and that is how to protect humanity from itself, frankly. How can we keep reminding us that humanity must prevail over all else? When I am in discussions with parties to conflict, like I have to be in discussion with parties to convince them to cease and desist on violations that are occurring against children, such as recruitment and use, or sexual violence, or killing and maiming of children, or attacks on schools and hospitals. It's extraordinary. Every time I sit with a party to conflict, whether it be a government or an armed group or a terrorist group, because I sit with all of them, they always tell me exactly the same words. It's unbelievable. They defend their actions, they justify their actions on the same basis. It's just incredible. I could just change the name and it's the same words used. So in the end, I got tired. And what I tell them now is I repeat the same thing to everybody. And it sounds very cruel. I don't intend it to be cruel, but sometimes on behalf of children, I have to be very straightforward. And I tell them, and I won't say which countries I've told them, but I have done this with armed groups and with governments across hotlines. And I said, I don't care. They give me half an hour of an excuse of why they went to war, why they did this, why they did that, why it's the right, why this, why the history, why the past. I said, I will tell them I don't care. I said, I will say, I couldn't care less. I don't care who's sovereign. I don't care who offended. I don't care who defended. I really don't care about territorial integrity. I don't care about the rights of individuals and of communities, as for example, the Charter of the UN says, the right of communities to choose their own determination or self-determination. I don't care. When I say this, they're usually very shocked. And then I immediately say the following. I say, if you're going to be unconscionable enough to resolve your conflicts by military means, as adults, you have every right to go and kill each other. I don't care. But if you're going to do that and use military means because you refuse to use peaceful means to resolve a dispute, no matter how long it takes, you will not use a single child in doing so. Am I clear? 0 to 18 is a child. You keep the child out of this. Fight between yourselves, kill yourselves. I don't care. I'm not here about peace. I'm here about what you can and cannot do if you cannot be big enough to resolve your conflicts peacefully. Now, this normally works because everybody understands the same message, and then they know what they can and cannot do as relates to one docket. If we transmit this to this docket, and you say, Bulgaria, what can we do that you don't do? I would like to see the International Day. That's what I want to see, the International Day, not just on the protectors of the righteous. I think the righteous, the word righteous, has become very associated with the Holocaust. And it has become associated, and today, in today's world, 80 years later, has become politicized. And I think countries are, it's so stupid. Member states and even NGOs are scared of the right words. We're stopping to use right words because we want to either be politically correct or not to be politicized. So we're scared of using words. So we are getting into grayer and grayer and grayer language. So what I would like to see would be the International Day for the, if you want, remembrance of human dignity, remembering those that prime human dignity above all else. It could be the International Day to remember the righteous and those that fight for human dignity. It's not about victims. There are many, many, many memorials to victims of violence. You have entire walls with names of victims. So the whole point of the garden is not about the victims. It's neither about the victimizers. It's not about condemnation of victimizers. It's about what I think was very well described in Noé Shalom and Wahat al-Salam philosophy, which is we have to remember our humanity above all else. It does not mean that we are traitors, because that's the problem. The problem is for some, you're a hero. For the other one, you're a traitor because you are talking to your enemy. That is not the way forward. It divides. The past normally divides. The future, or a common future, unites. If you give people a common cause or a common ground, it unites them across their big diversity. I think this is what the Noé Shalom people are trying to do. They're trying to give a common future, and therefore they can feel united. But I think the United Nations should do much, much more to be less timid about the use of words. I think we have to stop trying to balance in the act. We can't say in one word this and this just to show that we are impartial. It's not the point. The point is we're all human. We have to defend the Charter of the Rights of Man. There is a civilized way to engage. We respect diversity and we respect unfair and unjust treatment. We really do. We really do. And we should put much more behind the peaceful resolution of conflict, including through legal and judicial forms. I really think we're doing very little in resolving conflict. We're doing more about accusing than resolving. And I think the UN should be a safe space to discuss for as long as it takes the resolution of the peaceful resolution of conflict. Meanwhile, it's what people said, I'm a civilian. What do? I'm stuck. I'm a traitor or a hero. I have to move. They're asking me to move that way. I move that way. Then they ask me to move the other way. I move the other way. But there are some individuals that remember humanity above all else. And it pains me deeply to think of a country like France, with the French Revolution that changed the world, with the principles of equality, fraternity, liberty, the first ones to put Jews in trucks to send them to death. Where was the fraternity? Where was the equality? Where was the freedom? So you have to keep thinking to yourself, what do we want to be as human beings? And that's why the philosophy is what's important. So the garden is not something new. Planting a tree, everybody does. In Argentina, they blew up, Hezbollah blew up a whole embassy of Israel plus a church, killed a lot of people many years ago. And, for every person there, you plant a tree. We are filling the world with trees of dead people. It's not about the tree. It's about the joining of life and the common space. And it's about the foundation of life, not about the tree that represents the dead. It's the earth that is the same for all of us. So without more or further ado, I will push for the International Day. I have pushed for the International Day. I have had pushback because member states believe it's not the right time because of the politicization that is ongoing now globally. I think they're wrong, but it doesn't matter. That's what I will continue to push for that. The other things we can do is I will give the order in my office that we will put up all these testimonies in our website. And I will mention this when I go to the press on my children and conflict agenda, that this is something that should also be a story. We need to teach the media more. We need to have media workshops. The media is very old-fashioned. They use technology and they use artificial intelligence and they use all kinds of funny things. I used to be a journalist in my earliest life, and they haven't changed the way they think. The media is all about, first of all, entertainment, and second, it's about tension, and only third is about information, and the fourth is about education. It never is the other way around. Any story that will bring tension to entertain you is the one that will lead. So, of course, journalists lead with tragedies, with crime, with, the father that killed the 3 children because he wasn't fit. That's what you read because people like entertainment and tension. People don't read good stories. And I think on this day and age of hatred, journalists are the first ones that should try to stop the way in which they inform so that there is no so much hatred in the words that they use. Because they choose their votes. They choose their examples. They choose what to say. So they have a choice. I think we need to make sure now that working with the media, working with NGOs, I would strongly suggest that there should be a Garden of the Righteous here in the UN and in Geneva. I will propose it. Will it be done? No, there's 191 countries, member states in the General Assembly that have to vote. But every member state can help because you can have a group of friends of humanity. And that group of friends can bring forth these ideas. And this organization is here to obey and assist member states in their will to work together. That's what we are about. No one knows how to use us. That's a different story. I retired 31st of July. I will, in February, come back and I will self-nominate to be Secretary General. And if I win, you're going to have as many guardians of the righteous. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we are done. Thank you to all the people connected from all over the world. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.